to this computer. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So let me stop sharing for a second just to say hi. Man, what a fine looking bunch we have here today. So today is going to be the first session that I'm working on about using Zoom as far as teaching. A lot of what I'm sharing is in this wonderful book called Teaching Effectively with Zoom by Dan Levy. It's worth every $4.99. So if you can pick up that book, I recommend it. There's a lot of good things that they're sharing. So today, we have a very sizable crowd, which is exciting. It's pretty nice. So today what we're going to do is talk about really how different folks are how your students are going to be pretty much interacting with you. And it's going to focus on three things: speaking, polling, and chatting. So those are really kind of the three ways that folks can do it. And so we are going to kind of test some of these things out. So the first thing that I would like you to do is if you mouse over the screen, you'll get a menu that shows up at the bottom of your screen. And it will show you different options like chat and participants. As instructors, I recommend that you turn those, you click on those so you can get a list of your participants and you can get a list, get your chat. And you can actually, as an instructor, pull them off to the side so you can use those as part of your class. And you can hide them or turn them off and turn them on as you need them, because sometimes they're distracting, and to do that. But what I would like everyone to do, at least right now, is go ahead and click on the participants, and that way you see a list of participants, and you should have an option that allows you to raise your hand. So if you have that, go ahead and raise your hand. Martha, awesome. Tim, all right. Everybody's doing it perfectly. We have a few more. We're getting to the... So if you're just popping in, I asked folks to just raise their hands. That way I know that you're able to do it. And then you can click on, you should be able to click on the hand, and that'll lower the hand also. So go ahead and do that. Nice. Now I wish I had 3 screens, because I actually need 3 screens to do this and do what I'm doing, I guess, well. So let's waiting for my presentation to come up. Before I show what I'm going to ask you to do is kind of answer this question. So let me share the screen with you. So what, in preparation for a Zoom session, or it could be just your normal class, as you're waiting for your class to kind of gather, and everybody, before your class starts and everybody's kind of gathering, what are some tactics that you are using in order to, that you typically use in your class? If you could go ahead and raise your hand, and I will call on you, and then you can unmute and share with the rest of us. Oh, did I mention this is a participatory type activity?
Stan, do you mean like as students are coming into the classroom, what do we do?
Yeah, or you know, you're going to have to do it with Zoom also, but yes, as they're coming into the class.
Okay, I chat with them. I put the goals on the board for the class so they know what the objectives are for the day. I usually play some Spanish music. That's how my day starts.
Okay. But you didn't raise your hand. Man. All right. I saw Susan. Susan, you raised your hand.
I don't know how to raise my hand yet.
Well, click on the participants window and then you'll have a set of buttons that allows you to do that. So
All right.
mouse over the screen and click on participants. It can be the keystroke Alt-U if you have a PC. That allows you to do that. So Susan, you had something?
I just play my music also that I'll
Play
be using
music?
for the class. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. All right, Jeff.
Let me turn this on. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. First time I use the mic on this computer. All right. Yeah, I do the same thing. I play music. I have a health science course, so I just play classical music, and I have a reason to do that. Little, well, learn a little bit about culture. And on the board too, I have written whatever we're going to be doing that day, and usually, well, also what you expect to get out of it. You know, what's the main theme of what we're going to be talking about that day. Anyhow, that's what I do in the beginning of the.
Very good. Thank you. Next up, Karen. Karen. We lost Karen. So Karen, if you could, we can't hear you. So if you could type in the chat what you were planning to say, I'd appreciate it. And then we'll come back. So I'm moving on to Martha.
I guess at the beginning, I look around, and if there are any students I have to catch up with, I don't play music, although sometimes there might be a jingle going through my head or something that I might share. But and I'm usually getting organized. I have my notes with me, and then if there's something due, I'll put that on the board for them, and then kind of look around if there are students who might not have been there that I might have to talk to. That's pretty much how I get started.
Very cool. Thank you. And Susan, you had something else? And Karen shared that how assignments are going. All right, Dennis.
I just walk or talk to the students, give them a little individual time, see what they're doing. Oh, by the way, Stan, could you tell me how to get my picture up on? It's my name is up there, but it's just blank. How do I get my picture up?
Updating your profile. That'll have to be another session. We'll work on that.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. And John.
Well, face-to-face class, I tried before the actual starting time to get those papers returned, or the late papers are coming in with the students, so I take care of that. And a lot of it is Q&A, questions and answers with individual students that seem to have something to want further discussed. So a lot of times, that can be done in the first 5 minutes before class actually starts. But a lot of that procedural organizational work is how I start the class, along with the goals and what we're going to do for the class too.
Very nice. All right. So, yeah, a lot of these things you can actually do with Zoom. So one of the ways that I start the class, let me pull this up, so you got to see, a lot of you got to see how I normally start my class. And so I have a slide deck that I have put together, and I'll come in about 15 minutes early and I'll start running this slide deck, and I've set it so it automatically goes to the next slide every 15 seconds. Just some housekeeping notes, some rules, some norms. You know, I put in what, you know, the shortcut keys, where they can find the various buttons that they need in order to raise the hand and things like that, and how to participate in the chat. So, you know, one of the norms is I ask folks to raise their hand so I can call on them, and that kind of controls things a little bit. And then I may have an initial question that I want them to participate in as, you know, we're waiting for the class to assemble. And it, you know, it could be something from the previous day's assignment. It could be, if you're using a discussion board, you may pull something out from the discussion board and ask for more input. But you have those options available to you. In other classes, one of the things that I did was put together, you know, a set of quotes that are related to the topic of the day. And then these automatically will play, you know, and they get to see the quotes, and it's just waiting for the class to assemble. And, you know, I'm trying to, you know, share other ways of doing that. So that is, you know, tactics that you can use. If you decide, if you have a long class and it's time to take a break, one of the things that you can do in your web browser is type the word timer. And it will set you can set the timer for, come on, we can do it. So, you know, I may set a 3-minute timer and start. Or if you are giving them, say, a 10-minute break, you can start that particular timer and then increase it for the whole class. And I have this slide running so they know how much time before class comes back together. Or you can use it to say class is going to start in, you know, 2 minutes and 44 seconds, and wait until everybody, you know, kind of pulls together. And so those are some of the ways that, you know, you can kind of manage your class along the way. So let me ask this particular question. Let me go to my, we'll hide a couple of those things. So kind of thinking about how you do it in your face-to-face classroom, you're going to have to make the shift to a Zoom classroom. What are some of the norms that you have put together, some of the rules of engagement for responding to the class? So I'm going to lower your hand there, John, unless you already had something. I'll make you work. So how do you normally manage discussions in your class? So if you have something to share, please raise your hand, Teresa. And just kidding. But I'll wait for a couple responses. But while we're waiting, do you suggest a class break during a 75-minute Zoom class? Good question. That's it. You know, sometimes it's nice to just, you know, have a little 5-minute stretch break, you know, to go out and change out fluids and come on back. Nobody has discussions in their classes? I find that hard to believe. Don't forget to raise your hand. Greg?
Yeah, I like to get a discussion going where they're talking among themselves with me just watching. I always consider class successful when I'm less a part of it. So they're exchanging ideas and I interject every once in a while. Then I know I'm on a roll.
Okay. Do you have do you then have like maybe these small groups report out to the larger group, or you just kind of keep it in small sessions?
Well, it depends on the class, but no, I try to get the discussion going in the whole room.
Okay. Anyone else? Jeff?
Yeah, just I teach health science, and sometimes we get into kind of controversial topics like abortion. And I have this one ground rule which kind of helps things along a little bit and allow them to know, look, we're going to discuss these points. And I call it a discussion. I have a slide I put up too. A discussion is an exchange of ideas, but we're not going to argue. An argument is exchange of ignorance. So sometimes the best we can do is just agree to disagree. But at least, again, when we get to these controversial, and there's a few of them in health science, it seems like more all the time, just so we can discuss it without having hard feelings or anything. So it makes for a educational experience, not something you're unhappy about.
Yeah, setting the rules of engagement for discussions. Yeah, absolutely. So for Zoom, Martha, before I go that, Martha?
Yeah, I'm having not done Zoom before, but having been in Zoom meetings and knowing that sometimes people are talking over each other, hopefully the raising of the hand will help students to interject when they have questions or they want to add something. But my plan is to also have discussion through the discussion board and Blackboard in addition to what we do in class, that they'd have more time to maybe think about things, and that'll end up being a portion of their grade as well, where there might be some students who are not as comfortable doing it through the Zoom format, but might be more likely to do it in regards to the Blackboard discussion. And I agree, Jeff, I also, in economics in particular, have some controversial things, more or less, in terms of what side of the aisle you're on more than anything else. So same thing, we have to agree to disagree.
Very cool. Are you guys able to see, I just popped this little participants window on the screen and the chat. Are you able to see those things, what I'm showing? Can you see a list of names? Yeah. So with this participants window, as instructors, I recommend that you have it open so you can in fact see if people are raising their hand or not. And yeah, that makes it, you can call on people. So, creating those kind of norms where you can float a question, have them raise their hand, and then you can go ahead and select who you want to speak and then lower their hand. So then they unmute, they speak, they go back to muting. So one of the settings that you can set is when people come into the classroom, that everybody is muted right away. And, that helps to kind of keep things managed. But it's really up to your classroom. Some folks, they just want, they want everybody to kind of speak, but you're going to find out that you got dogs barking in the background, lawnmowers, kids coming in, running in, things like this. And this is, we don't normally have a lot of those things in our face-to-face classrooms, but you're going to have them in your classroom. So you have to think ahead of time, setting your expectations for your students so they can come in. I will also let you know that responding to chat or responding to conversations in Zoom is going to take longer than in a face-to-face classroom, right? The time it takes for people to raise your hands, for you to call on them, for them to unmute, to start speaking, to mute, it just takes a little bit more time. So you have to manage, get that management piece in there. When you're asking questions, same thing that in a normal classroom, right? You may have to have one of those, as they say, pregnant pauses where you're waiting for somebody to reply to a question. And you can, you know, when you, I recommend, just as I'm doing here, that if it's just not a spontaneous question, if it's pre-thought out what you're going to ask them, have a slide that you can share so they can see the question, because sometimes audio breaks down and folks didn't hear it. But if you supplement that with being able to see what the question is, that is also useful. And you know, you may, as part of this, saying, I will not move forward until I get at least 4 people to raise their hands. And then you got to wait. You know, you just can't, you know, cave in and do that. Try to keep it to 1 question at a time, but definitely try to weave these questions throughout your class. So if you're supplementing your class with a slide deck, you can have the questions written in as slides throughout your presentation to get that engagement that you want. So just something to kind of think about. And then, you know, naturally you can follow up with other questions. There is a strategy between cold calling and warm calling. So cold calling is just, you know, Lisa, so what do you think about this? You know, and you know, just kind of calling Lisa out. Where warm calling is, you may see something in an online discussion, like Martha mentioned, that she's having a Blackboard discussion. Something may grab your eye. Reaching out to that student ahead of time, saying, hey, when the class starts, I plan to call on you to ask you more about this, so they can prepare kind of a response. And you can, you know, pull that information in. So some ways of managing the speaking piece of Zoom. So does anyone have any questions, thoughts, comments? If you would raise your hand, that'd be awesome, that you want to share. Clear as mud? Okay. Jacob asked a question in the chat. It says, if someone raises their hand, will it go to the top of the list? Yes, it will. So that is a great point. And then everyone else, as the hands go up, they will be in the order of how the hands were raised. So if you're waiting for the 5th person, you'll be able to see them at the bottom of that raised hand list, but that is definitely how it works. Okay, let me pull up Zoom. Something I want to show you. First of all, let me ask this question here. So here is a poll that I'm launching. So go ahead and click on the poll. And this, you know, it doesn't matter Zoom or face-to-face, or, you know, if it's online, it doesn't matter. Are you using polling in your classes? $14 out of 15, 16, 18 out of 20. 20 out of 20. Nice. Thank you. I'm going to end the polling right now, and I am going to share the results. So what I did is I did what's called an anonymous poll. So when you're setting up your poll, you can make it anonymous and have everybody respond to it. So a lot of different reasons why you would do that. And we'll get to, but I want to show you how to set one of those things up. So let me go to my meeting. Okay, so basically you would go into your meeting And I'll stop sharing the results here. You go into your specific meeting that you have set up, and at the bottom of the meeting, you can create a poll question. And you have to do this basically ahead of time in order to have those readily available as you're going through your slides or your presentation. So I would add something, I'd add a poll. You put a title in there. So this is poll. I can choose whether it's going to be anonymous or not. So I'll check anonymous. What is your favorite color? And we'll have blue, we'll have green, whoops. Green, red. And so now I've set up that particular poll, and I'll save it. And let me, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but I'll try it. We're going to see a wild effect here of everyone. So when it comes time to, I don't know if you can see the toolbar that I just brought up, but I'm going to select it. And what I can do is then choose which poll I want, favorite color, have that ready to go, and then launch that particular poll. And as answers start coming in, I'll be able to see how everybody is responding. All right, everybody knows how to play. Sweet. There's a Monty Python phrase in here, So how do you use this? Okay, so we've got to 16 out of 20. I'm going to end the poll right here. It shows me what the highest number was. You do not, normally you would not see what the results are of the poll yet until I share the results. What I could do is you could have a question that you say, from an exam, everybody gets wrong, and you can throw that question up in front of students, and if it comes around to 50-50, you can break those students up into small groups, have them discuss it. I can relaunch the poll and have them re-answer, and there's a tendency for them to come to the correct answer after they've discussed it with the group. So, and then you can share the results. Or if everyone got the correct answer, great. We share the results. I stop sharing the results, and we move on with the lesson. But if you kind of have a split where half the group's getting the right answer, half the group's getting the wrong answer, this would be a good time for maybe some additional discussion, talk about it, things like that. So that's one way that you want to use it. And Don is asking how to use this. So
you just answered it. I wrote that before you started talking, Stan.
Okay. Whew. Okay. All right. Let me ask this question here. And let me hide that chat. Let me go to. So for the folks that have answered in using polling, what are some of the ways that you've actually used polling? Or if you've been on the other side, what are some of the ways that others have used polling? So we get somebody in the chat. So Lisa's first experience with polling here. Okay. We'll have some more examples, but I don't have anyone jumping up, so we'll just continue moving on. So there's a lot of different ways why you would use polling. Recall of information. It could be that you have had a discussion the day before or a few days before. You went over a bunch of different concepts. You're asking them to recall some of that information. So you can use polling as a quick way of, kind of taking the pulse of what folks are doing, or, what their ability to recall, right and wrong answers. Conceptual understanding. You can use this actually also in like mathematics, where they have to, work out some basic formulas and come up to an answer. It's basically like having an exam where you have the options of true and false. You have the options of multiple guess or multiple selections. You can, kind of take the pulse of the room. Whether or not they like this approach or that approach. Do they want pizza or do they want Mexican? That you could take the pulse of a room that way. Martha mentioned, well, it really depends on what side of the aisle they're on. Well, you can ask them, kind of in an anonymous way, what the leanings of the class are, what their feelings are on those controversial issues, if you can build out the right poll questions. Just a lot of different ways, just getting perspective, everything, preferences, just feedback on a variety of different things. Okay, so to set up the poll, let's see, what screen am I sharing here? Am I sharing the right screens? No, I wasn't. Okay. So to set up a poll, basically you would go into your account when you have an account, and you would select meetings. And so I have a list of meetings that I have scheduled for the next few weeks. Today's happens to be Teaching with Zoom and Zoom Instruction Basics. So I would select that meeting, and at the very bottom, I have an option to add a poll question. So poll number 6, it's just the title, something that you can recognize, pull it up, decide if it's going to be anonymous or not. Here's where I put my question. And here I put basically what the different answers are. A, B, C, D, I can set multiple choice, where they get to select multiple options or a single choice. Do I want to narrow it down, or what the possibilities are? So from there, we have multiple choices, and that is it. Then let me flip it over to the other screen. Once again, I'm not sure what you can see or what you can't. As far as some of the options, the toolbars, but I have a toolbar where one of the options, I can see the participants, I can share the screen, but I have polls, and I can select polls. And from there, I can choose my new poll. And this one is a multiple choice, so multiple answers are possible. And I launch my poll. Now, are you able to see my poll in progress? or I know a poll probably popped up on your screen. Anyone?
Yeah, I can see poll 6 and 4 A, B, C, D.
Okay, but do you see that, like this window? It says poll 6 in progress, and you know it's got a timer on it. How many attendees have viewed it yet? Maybe
I do not. I do not.
Okay, all right. So
That's why I lost you after that, because I don't see it.
yeah. That's sometime I'll probably have to do a recording on that.
When
But
you said the polling was at the bottom, but I didn't, unless my page is not bringing it up, I didn't see it at the bottom. You know where the bottom, add a poll.
for your account.
Yeah, like on your meeting page, I didn't see at the bottom where you
Oh,
start.
okay. Yeah, no. Good. That's a great point. All right, so we can fix it. Thank
That's why
you.
I lost. That's why I
Thank
lost.
you ever so much. So let me go back to sharing the other screen. Great point. So over on the left-hand side, you know, you have your profile, your meetings. One option is settings. So click on settings. And it's a good thing that you review your settings anyways. Going through your different settings allows you to see what options that you want. But one of the options in meeting basics is, you know, that you can set your chats, but one of the options is also polling. And so just make sure that that's turned on or blue, and allows to show the meeting control bar. So those are, you know, some of these things, if they're turned off, other people can't see it. So that's probably why you can't see something I'm showing. But that'll allow you to do polls, add to your meeting controls polls. So that's an important step. Thank you.
Stan, can I ask a question?
Yes.
I've been doing some work with Corey, and I haven't been able to get that poll feature when I do Zoom meetings through Blackboard. Is that because I have to go back to my Zoom, to the settings? Yes. And so that's keeping me from being able to do it at this point?
I believe so.
Okay, thank you.
I honestly believe so, but we'll find out.
So. When I set up my Zoom account, it was just basically the account. I didn't go in and do all of this stuff.
Right.
I just did this for each individual class in Blackboard. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. So that was Martha. Lisa.
Hi, yes. So I have a lot of questions. So I've used Zoom, but have never taught on Zoom. I do have a Zoom account. So when we're setting up these settings, am I setting them up per my name, my account, or is it going to be a whole separate system or setting I'm using for Zoom for JCC as compared to what I use at my other work? Or are you following what I'm saying?
Yes.
I guess what I need to back up and ask is, at some point, I assume JCC is going to be sending me information as to, you know, my
account
setup at 1:15 to 2:30 every Tuesday and Thursday.
Correct.
And so is that when I go in to create these settings, once I get that information from them?
I can, you know, when I set you up with a pro account, you can use the account that you already have.
Okay.
You know, if I send it to a different address, then you have your account, just send me a note back and we'll switch the address and it'll be fine. And, but you can go ahead and have these settings set, preset, and then it'll work fine.
When will I get that information from you for the pro account?
That's a good question. As soon as things basically stop moving, you know, that we have, you know, there's a lot of classes that are coming up, coming down, they're changing modality, and these accounts cost money.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than spend the money right now, we're waiting until at least until August, and then from August I can hand out these accounts. They'll be pretty much set at that point in time.
So then in terms of setting up polls or anything, those are things that we can't tend to until you've given us that
No,
information.
you can set up polls. Yeah, you can do that right now. The Pro account basically allows you to go past the 40 minutes.
Right.
So.
And do you know, I'm sorry, I have one more question. I have a lot of questions. Do you
I'm lowering your hand, that's all. Go ahead.
Okay, are we good? Each week, so I don't have to each week schedule a meeting that's already done through the school, correct? And is it a one link? They'll use the same link for every class?
You are going to be responsible for creating that meeting link.
Okay,
Okay, so you can set it up each week. You have a unique link, or you can use the same link for your entire class.
okay.
Yep. Great questions. Thanks. As Tess asked that, do we all have Pro accounts? If you're going to be teaching with Zoom, you will have a Pro account. So that's what we're heading to right now. All right. So I showed you a couple of anonymous polls. Let me show you another way that basically it's non-anonymous. You can certainly do it through the polling, but this is just another way of doing polls. So I have my slide number 7. So this is, and I'll get to you, Teresa and Martha. Hang on. So this is a way to do another type of polling that you can use the participants window, and at the bottom you should have a set of different tools, and if you have a yes and a no, click appropriately. So if you are doing, if you're an early bird, I have no idea what I'm showing right now. Let me stop. I have no idea. There we go. Okay. So so Dawn, she is an early bird. She clicked on that, and same with Susan. So this is another way of doing one of these polls. So what I'll see at the bottom is the number of people that have clicked on these different icons. So if you could go ahead, and we got 3 yeses so far that folks are early birds, 4, 5. And if you're looking at your participants window, you should be able to see everybody and what they are looking at, or what choice that they're having. So Mike is not. He's turned that on and off. Okay. All right. And so then you would ask everybody to, basically clear their results. And I'm going to show another question. This time I'm using 4 options in which individuals can respond. And all I'm doing is just choosing the appropriate buttons at the bottom to see where everybody's at. And I can just eyeball this and get a good idea, or, look at the counter. And so far right now, STEM is winning this battle. So that is a different type of way that you can poll individuals in your class. So what to do with the results? basically there's kind of 4 options what you can use as far as the results is you can share the results. You can send folks off to a small group discussion. You can have a class-wide discussion. And if you want, you can re-poll. So depending on what the question happens to be, you can just send that out, have folks discuss it, then re-poll it. If you're looking for, a very specific answer, a question, specific question. So. And like I said, I'd encourage you to use slides in order to, back those questions up. The polling, that'll pop up on their screen and they'll do it. But if you're using these other polling methods, then, use this other strategy. So so you may come up to a question that you're trying to get a feel from folks, and you don't have necessarily a poll built, but what you can do is ahead of time, you can build a generic poll. And which one was that for? That I could ask a question basically on the fly and maybe, pop the question into a blank slide or something like that. So let me create a new slide. And ask the question, have you ever used this program before? So with that, answer A, if you are a power user. B, if you've only used it for a little bit. C, you've seen others use it, and D, that you've never seen this program before. So. Let's see. Catching up on questions here while you guys are answering. Tess, she asked, can these be recorded if the student misses a Zoom meeting? Yes. I am recording it to my computer. I will later send this to YouTube, and then I can share it to the class through Blackboard. Heather asked, can you set up your meetings reoccurring so that it don't have to be set up weekly? You certainly can do that. And Lisa, she asked something apparently. Can you see your response? I'm not sure which response, so I'm not sure. How are you switching between your PowerPoint and polling? Well, what I'm doing is I'm sharing my screen, which is showing my PowerPoint primarily. The polling is just another tool that pops up on the screen when I select it. So I have my toolbar available to me, and then I can select what I want to share. So can students record the Zoom meeting? I do not believe so. When I put, so for this particular session, I share it as unlisted, so it's not just coming up on YouTube that anybody can search for it. So you can set it for unlisted, or you can set it for public. That may be a discussion to have, with your students. If you've got a lot of students that say, no, we don't want to be recorded, well, okay, then it's going to be important for them to be in class. So, all right. Other ways that you can do it. Let me show, I've lost my counts here. All right. So this is another way you could do it. I'm going to stop sharing my results. And matter of fact, I'm just going to stop sharing. Well, no, that's not what I want to do. Back to this question here. But I am going to my gallery view so I can see all your smiling faces here. Okay. So this goes back to the question of division. With the show of fingers, 1 being AHHS, SSBU is 2 fingers, STEM is 3, 4 is student development, 5 is other. I am a 5. So what is your division? All right. Very cool. So you have to ask them to not just throw it up there, because you want to be able to see in the gallery view in order to see other ways of doing this, right? It's like, and you know, when they're throwing up one finger, give some guidance on how that finger is going to be thrown up there. So just things. Other ways that you can do it, you can ask them to put a color, right? It may be a colored card, a reply to an answer, right? A, B, C, D. It could be that they just have a blank piece of paper that you just, hey, let me show you a D, show you a B, okay? Different ways that you can have them respond to the particular questions. Now, I realize that some of you may not have seen that. So let me clear some of this stuff. So I'm going to stop sharing. Up at the top of your window, you have different views. You have a speaker view and a gallery view. So you can look at the top right corner of the screen. Ideally, you have it set for gallery view. And gallery view is basically the Brady Bunch view. And that way you can see those particular things. Speaker view will hone in on the individual who happens to be speaking at the time. You have an option to pin those, right? If you want somebody to be prominent, so you can do that. But so anyways, different options for doing a quick poll, right? That you have an A and B question, yes or no, 1 for yes, 2 for no, and you know, ask the questions and have them do that. On some of the polls, there wasn't a submit button. Is that correct? That is correct. So, and Susan gave another option in how she responded. So you can also have students respond by typing in the chat. If you want them to keep their input, you don't want everybody to see their input, have them do a private message to you in the chat and just pull up the name and say, you know, what's the answer to this, and have them put it in the private message and you can look at it. Now, naturally, when somebody doesn't do that correctly, it kind of ruins the game a little bit, but you have those different ways of doing it. All right, so that's a little bit about polling. We're running out of time. I had more than I need to share. So the last piece happens to deal specifically with the chatting or the writing. And we're getting a feel for how that chat is working as part of the group. And so you can ask for specific ways that you want folks to do things using the chat. So for example, what are ways that you believe or you have in mind that you're going to use chat in your particular Zoom classrooms? So go ahead and share it in the chat. So answer quick questions. Thank you, Susan. So like a discussion board. Ooh. Address behavior issues. And the chats are coming fast and furious. All right, you can see how quick you can grab information from students by asking them to fill out the chat. Getting input. So, not sure what you mean discussion. So with Zoom, you know, depending on the norms that you set in your class, there can be a side discussion going on in chat, right? That students are having commentary on what you're saying. They're sharing resources. There's, you know, can be good or bad. It can be a distractor. So you may set rules of engagement where you say, hey, stay out of the chat unless I ask you to go into the chat, right? So you have to be very deliberate on how you use some of these different features for your particular sessions. Yeah, Don, great point. That hard to keep up with the chat when you're teaching 65 students. So the suggestions are, if you could have a facilitator, right? And I don't, some of the bigger schools, they have teaching assistants that would help with that. You can, as part of your presentation, you can stop the presentation and go look at the chat. So you can have specific times in your presentation where you say, okay, I'm pausing at this moment. Let me go in and see what folks have shared in the chat and use that, to continue the conversation, to go back. So Karen says that your hybrid is where you're having the discussion. That's where you're going to be doing your Blackboard. I'm just encourage you to keep it open, that you may take something that's happening in Blackboard and drag it into your Zoom session, as a starting off point, and you want people to add to it, or, the other thing is also to keep responses small. Ask them, in 3 words, tell me whatever, and you can collect information there. So if a student can't get your attention with a question, so that's why I said that having, having the participants window available, have that running the same time you're doing that. Reporting tech troubles, all those things. So I see Teresa's hand is raised. So Teresa, what did you want to share?
I just had the question about when we were talking about the setting up the meetings and whether we needed to do it multiple times or once. So I guess my question is, do we use the same meeting link for all of our different classes? That's part 1. And part 2 is, when I go into Zoom now, I've been using the personal meeting room, and I've been meeting students through that. But there's the other options, and I don't know the difference.
Yeah, that is, we'll probably have to chat more about that. But as far as setting up a meeting, I would set up a different meeting URL for each of your courses, right? They can have a reoccurring meeting URL for the entire course. And, but each one should be different. That way you don't have students barging in, you know, while you're in the middle of a session with somebody else, right? If, you know, they click on this. So, you know, I've set out these meeting URLs, but I get emails saying, hey, so-and-so is in the session. It's like, well, the session doesn't start for 2 more days. So, you know, but you could be teaching a class and they jump right in, and you don't necessarily want that. So, yeah. Martha.
Yeah, I set up all of my Zoom meetings, class meetings ahead of time as the recurring in Blackboard, but I don't know that I have a pro account. I just set up an account myself.
Okay.
So will that cut me off after 40 minutes? And if I switch to a pro account, does that mean I have to set up all those class sessions?
No, you won't. You know, when we set you up with a pro account, that won't affect that. It just gives you a lot of time. As far as whether you'll be cut off on the 40 minutes, I don't have a definitive answer. I do know that if you have a pro account, it won't.
Corey didn't think so because she's taught without one and she didn't think it would, but
yeah, I don't have a definitive answer
okay
on that. No, sorry.
And if I could set up my classes through Zoom on Blackboard, although I had Corey's help, I think anybody can do it. I see Teresa's face. She knows me.
Yeah, I mean, you know, everything the first time, you know, is a little more challenging. But, you know, once we get into the groove, then, you know, everything seems to go quite well. If you don't have dual monitors, I would really recommend that you try to set up dual monitors for your class. That way you have, you know, you have your presentation on one side, you have your classroom management on the other side. And you can see, well, I'm kind of teaching like all kinds of crazy stuff here. So I get lost. It's like, okay, I'm lost. So I stop sharing. What am I doing? Okay, I want to share this. Okay, now I go back. So just remember, you know, that is an important strategy, that if you're getting lost, just stop sharing, regroup, go do what you need, you know, go back to where you need to be. So so some of the reasons that you would use chat, certainly administrative stuff, like saying that, you know, the class is going to start in 5 minutes, something like that. But also here is a link. So this happens to be a link to this particular slide deck that I'm working on today. So throughout, I've tried to capture, you know, different inputs that you've provided. And so it'll be on this particular link, and you can go in and go to that slide deck and review it and, you know, see the mess that I've created. So let me see my slides again. What am I talking about? Yeah, supporting the chat with a whiteboard. So I've tried to model that throughout the day. I posted a question as input came in, you know, as folks were talking or adding in chat. I tried to capture that on these different slides. So that is, you know, a strategy that you can use. In this case, I did not share it as a presentation because then I couldn't type on it. So I shared it just as my working view, and I was able to type on it. And then I can share that back out to the students after. If you share it to them with editing capability, they can also add answers to this. Probably the final thing that I want to say about chat is if you look at your chat window where you type your message, just above it, it says to. So in most cases, to everyone. Over to the right-hand side, you have these 3 dots. And one of the options is you can save the chat. And if you happen to record the presentation, the chat gets saved automatically. So when you stop recording, the chat will be downloaded to your computer. So you have an opportunity to collect all kinds of great input from the folks that you are working with by doing that chat. So as a participant, so at the very bottom where you would type your message, where you just typed your message, just above that, it says to everyone. Over on the right-hand side of that, over to the far right, you'll see a button with 3 dots. If you click on that, you should be able to save chat. And if you can't, that means that I have a setting that I need to change, and I apologize, but you can't. Well, here's where we go to see if I can find that settings. The things we learn. So I brought my settings up. Let me find.
And I was able to see that.
You were?
I was. The 3 dots were there, and I just clicked save chat.
Okay.
So, you know, I think maybe some can and some can't. I don't know.
Well, then I don't know how to fix that because it's either or. So, but thank you. Okay. That was a lot of content for a presentation. You know, today's discussion. Well, Nancy, we'll have to work on that. We'll have to get together and figure that out. So I'm not sure why you're not able to save. Does anyone have any questions, any further comments that they would like to share with the rest of the group? Somebody unmuted, so go ahead, Jacob.
Quick question. I don't know if this is a time or place for it, but I was wondering how you do breakout rooms.
Breakout rooms is another session.
Okay. You're having another session on this?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'll have a session specifically on breakout rooms or groups.
Okay.
Working in groups. We will actually go do, we'll actually go in do breakout groups. So I'll try to show you how to set them up, and we'll let you actually go into some.
All right, thank you.
Kind of force you into them. So, Nancy, no, it's not because you're on Gmail. So we'll have to experiment with that. So, but I can always, if you shoot me your email address, I can always send you the chat. So from this session.
And I have a question.
Yes.
So what is the best way for us to send the Zoom link to students? Should that be within the Blackboard course or through email or multiple ways? And I heard Martha mention that you actually do Zoom through Blackboard, but earlier I think you mentioned that you had a problem using Zoom through Blackboard. So if we had the link in Blackboard, does it actually direct them and send them out, or are they working within Blackboard for that Zoom? I hope that's clear what I'm asking.
Wow.
Can I just say all of my classes are set up, and when I go in, I can see every single class meeting. And for me, I have where I just do start, and it should start the meeting. And
so there's an
I assume the
integration.
students have a join. And
Yeah.
it's the same meeting number for all of the class sessions on Monday, Wednesday at 1:15 or Tuesday, Thursday at 10 or whatever. And I didn't do a password. I just have the ID.
So they can only access it by going into your Blackboard course?
No, because I've been practicing with myself on my iPad to join my meetings.
Yeah.
So as long as I have the appropriate meeting ID.
Okay.
And when Stan talked about 2 screens, I've been using my iPad as a second screen. And then Stan, I watched one of your videos. I have a whiteboard behind me that with my husband's help getting a easel and everything, but also being able to use my iPad as a whiteboard as well. So
you don't get feedback when you're using 2 screens, because I had tried that before.
until I listen to Stan's video, you
Okay.
come in without video, you come in without camera. So if you don't have either of those, then you can join without the feedback. So thank you, Stan, for that.
Okay, so where's this video, Stan, that she's referring to that I need to watch?
It's on
It
our
was the
website.
video.
It's on our website. It's
I don't know if it was a separate email, Stan, or if it was in the original about the training, which I'm assuming this hour goes towards our 4 hours in training.
sorry.
This hour goes towards our training. Mike is saying yes. So
Yes,
okay.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, there, you know, from a hosting side of things, the instructor side of things are a little different. You know, I strongly encourage that, you know, set up an account on Zoom, play with it. Just go in and try to share your screen, try to set up a poll, try to do all these different things. Do it before you get students in the classroom, right? Invite friends, right? Just, you know, friends and family, come visit me. I want to experiment with something, you know, and try that. You can also tag us, right? We would send me a link, you know, let's schedule a meeting. I would love to have you practice what you're doing so you have an understanding of what you're doing before you got into the classroom, right? Just to do it. So feel free to reach out to us. We're there to help you out, you know, and I'm sure that, you know, some of your colleagues would be happy to test out some of the things that you're doing, you know. As Martha, you know, she's got her whiteboard. This is my whiteboard, right? So I have a little portable whiteboard. You know, I make sure that I get in there and I can write on it. So, yeah, lots of options. So, where can I view also this recorded session? Where can I find that? It'll be on the same place, but up where it says courses. So here's the link where you're going to find the recording. As soon as I get it, connect it back up to YouTube, and then I'll share it out. So those kind of things. Very good. Thank you, Martha. To July. Okay, folks. You have been a wonderful crowd today. Thank you for participating. So I will work to get this up on YouTube and back out to the page. So if there's I'll hang out for just a few minutes, but if there's nothing else, I wish you just a wonderful day.